Welcome to Voices of Adoption, where we share unique perspectives, actionable advice, and meaningful stories of birth parents, adoptees, adoptive families, and other members of the adoption community. I'm Donna Pope, Executive Director of Heart to Heart Adoptions.
And I'm Nathan Gwilliam, founder and former CEO of Adoption.com.
Together, we've been part of thousands of adoption journeys over the past 25 years, and we're so glad you're here.
Let's begin today's conversation. Hello, and welcome to the Voices of Adoption show. I'm Nathan Gwilliam, and I co-host the show together with Donna Pope.
Hi, I'm Donna.
Today, we're joined by Jeff Forney. Jeff is a multidimensional storyteller and an advocate who has turned his lived experience as an adoptee into a mission of connection, transformation, and truth-telling. While his adoption journey defies simple explanation, it has deeply shaped his sense of purpose and his commitment to helping others navigate the complexity of adoption with honesty and grace. Jeff was adopted as an infant, and the impact of that foundational experience has echoed through every season of his life. For him, adoption has touched his understanding of purpose, his relationships, and his capacity for empathy. His journey is marked by a relentless pursuit of authenticity, a process of unlearning, reconnecting, and evolving. Over time, Jeff has shared his story through diverse formats: podcast conversations, curated photography exhibits, adoptee summits, and vulnerable Instagram reflections. He creates safe, creative places where truth is honored and healing is shared, often in beautifully unexpected ways. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jeff.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So, Jeff, I'm going to just start right out by saying, do you agree with what Nathan just read about you?
Absolutely.
Tell me why.
I think adoption allowed me to, once I found my birth mother, I think I got a better look at myself. I was able to look from above and see who I am and what my purpose is out there. And I think it's given me a real insight to the human condition in different forms. I also have learned more about myself, things that maybe I did to protect myself going out there. And I think it gives me a real, being an adoptee, I'm a real, I love an underdog. And I want to help people that need maybe some more guidance to help shepherd them through the adoption experience. I had a wonderful adoption experience, but that didn't mean I didn't have things that I want to touch on, discover, learn about. As I say, you know, we in a way, you start your life on chapter 2 as an adoptee, and I wanted to find out my chapter 1. And it's been very fulfilling.
That's a great way to say that.
It really is. I love it. Don't you, Nathan? I love that way you say that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so start us and with as much of chapter 1 as you can, and then jump into chapter 2 and tell us the story.
Chapter 1, my birth mother was at school at U of A in the late 60s, baby scoop era, and her parents back in the peninsula of the San Francisco Bay Area were not too happy with that situation and felt that, you know, she felt pressured to relinquish. And I think also she came to the conclusion that I still have another year of college and I'm not going to be, you know, I think she felt she was maybe not the best spot to go forth with me. And I mean, her parents also, you know, were not very encouraging, didn't want to help with an apartment when she got out of college. It was a little bit of pressure. So I was born in San Francisco Children's Hospital, November 30th, 1968, born in secrecy. When I did find my birth mother, she had to inform everybody that I existed. But from what I know, I was born November 30th. And then 6 weeks later, I went home to my parents in the East Bay, right behind the Berkeley Hills, a little town called Moraga. And I was raised there till 18, till I went off to college. And I always knew I was adopted. I would ask about it and they would inform me. And even through the process of learning more about it and talking to my mom said that she and my father even put money aside that should anything happen to us, there was money for you to go look. And
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
That them being that supportive. When you said U of A, that where your birth mom was going to school, is that University of Arizona in Tucson?
Yes.
Okay. I grew up in Tempe, Arizona, not too far from there. Very familiar.
Yeah.
A couple of things I'd like to clarify. One is, was it 6 weeks or 6 days from the time you were born till you went with your parents?
6 weeks.
Where were you during those 6 weeks?
I don't know. That's another thing that, I did find my biological mother, and now I wonder where I was for the 6 weeks before that. So I don't know. I don't really know how. I guess I can go to Children's Home Society, but I don't even know if they're even there in Oakland anymore. So I need to start looking. Somebody has to have those records.
Yes, usually someone takes over custodial ownership of those records if an agency closes down.
Yeah.
And isn't it interesting that it matters?
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know. As far as mattering to them or mattering to me?
Mattering to you.
Oh, yeah. No, I kind of now want to know, what was I doing? I want to thank them. I would like to say, hey, you're a smaller part, but you did shepherd me from point A to point C with a little 6-week point B,
And those are 6 pretty critical weeks.
Yeah.
The first 6 weeks as an infant.
And so your birth mom really didn't have much to do with picking your parents.
No. It was really more the agency matching. Very, very similar. My birth mother was French German, and my father, my last name is French, but he's French German, and my mother's Dutch, full 100% Dutch. But they tried to match up quite similarly. Yeah.
So you mentioned that it was during the 60s scoop.
Yes.
I just interviewed somebody last week. She was talking about the Canadians. So in Canada, the Indigenous people, there was a 60s scoop where they scooped up Indigenous people, but you used it for just regular old Caucasian people.
Yeah, no, and then the 60s scoop is referencing a Canadian situation, and then Americans generally call it the baby scoop, and that was after World War II people coming home. There are more children adopted that time period. I think 46 to 72 Roe v. Wade, more children, there's more adoptees in that grouping than any other section of adoptees. We're the largest group.
Interesting. All right, now launching. We have interviewed a number of adoptees, and what's fascinating to me is that they kind of go across the spectrum. Some that are very bitter about the fact that they were adopted. They're very bitter. They feel that there was trauma and they're angry about it. Others that super grateful for the chance to have this different life. Where are you?
I am not bitter, and I would that doesn't mean I didn't have some questions. I was, for an example, I was probably 4 or 5 years old. My parents wanted to go to San Francisco for the day, and I said I didn't want to go. They said, why? I said, I'm afraid I'm going to be left in San Francisco. So I had something in my head that I had been taken from somewhere and placed somewhere else. And my dad, he was a very pleasant, nonviolent, probably just, put his napkin down and said, Jeff, we love you so much. We want you in our family, and we would never leave you in San Francisco. And so they were very encouraging about that. But these were the questions that a 4-year-old doesn't fully understand. So I would ask again when I was 6 or 7, and we'd have another conversation. I would ask again. So, no, I'm not bitter. I'm very grateful I got the parents I got. My father, who passed away a few years ago from old age, but he was one of the most amazing people I could have ever had guide me to teach me what it means to be a man, a husband, a father. And my mom is equally amazing. And it was, I think, just a wonderful childhood, but I did have questions, which led me to wanting to look out there at some point. But
So your parents couldn't answer those questions.
the questions, oh, I mean, like my question was, where, how did I get here? And they didn't know. They knew they had non-identifying information. I wanted to know the circumstance, what brought me here, how did I come to be, and I those questions, that chapter one, that understanding, I wanted to know. We went to church in Berkeley. My parents met in Berkeley. We lived in Moraga, but we still went to church in Berkeley every Sunday. And sometimes I'd skip Sunday school and I would walk the streets of Telegraph, where all the people are selling silver jewelry and everybody looks like they just came from Woodstock, New York, from a concert. And I would wonder, I was always kind of looking, could that be my birth father? Could that be my birth? There was always that kind of a looking, wondering if they were close by. Maybe they lived in the Bay Area. So it was that. And so when I did tell my mom and dad that I wanted to look, it was very scary because I felt like I was breaking up with them. I felt like the fact that I wanted to find out how I got here, I didn't want them to think that that was a commentary on their parenting, because their parenting was exceptional. I just wanted them to know, this is nothing against you guys. I just want to know how I got here. And so they were encouraging of that and, supported me in that journey.
So kids often will say, I loved how you said that you thought maybe they would think you were breaking up with them. So you have these exceptional parents who you love very much and clearly loved you very much. And yet you still needed to know.
I still needed to know. I needed to know how I got here. And back to something you said earlier, right at the beginning of the question, you said some people are not grateful, some are bitter, and some are very grateful. I do also know, though, through this photographing of other adoptees and sharing their stories to Instagram, nobody wants to be told to be grateful. It's better, I'm grateful, but I got there on my own. I was not told you should be grateful, because that's being told that we should. It's taking away the person's ability to voice their concern or their questions if everything has to be coming from gratitude. You can totally find yourself to that spot like I have, and I think I did live that way, but I do know there's other people's stories that you have to allow them to tell it, because a lot of times the narrative is not, I think adoptees right now in real time are starting to take control of the narrative a little bit more. I think in the past it wasn't. It was, you're lucky, you've been saved, and here we go. Those things can be true, but we also need to allow for discovery and finding out how we came to be.
And see, I would go another step further even in that, because it's validating your feelings.
It's validating. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for people to say, no, you really should be grateful. You should be grateful. Okay. But I do have other feelings.
Right. Exactly.
And I can be grateful and have other feelings at the same time.
Absolutely. Two things can be true at the same time with this. I can still want to look and still love my parents and say, hey, you did a bang up job. I just need to find out how
It's part of who you are, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question really quick. So your parents responded very well and they were very supportive of you. Sometimes a few parents maybe get a little offended, get a little bit hurt when a child goes to search. They don't have the same experience you had. Can you give some advice to those parents who are in that situation? What can they do to handle that situation as good as they can? And how might it have gone differently if your parents hadn't responded so positively?
First part, I would suggest every couple looking to adopt to learn and learn a little bit more of what they're getting into and how to accommodate and understand that you're not going to be able to just mold a child into your wishes and desires. They are coming with another set of blueprints, so being open to their questions and not being rigid to saying, no, the child's not coming in completely clean slate. Uh, so you need to acknowledge their questions, acknowledge if it's a transracial adoption, try to have friends that are non-white. Even if you have a friend that could help with your child, identify culturally with some things, but just be aware that your child will have questions, and being open to discussion is a lot healthier than saying, we're not going to talk about this. You should be grateful. You're our child.
Yeah, that's right.
Go off, do your thing. Yeah.
That has big risk of huge backfire too.
Yeah. And I think
harming that relationship.
Yeah. And, I think you can be an open parent willing to learn from your child, instead of so much, top down, telling your child what to do, but being open to who they are. It'll make it a much more wonderful experience. The child will feel validated, and it's a more harmonious family relationship.
So you got to the point where you love your parents, but you wanted to search. Tell us what happened there.
I think getting into college, really kind of learning more about myself, coming into my own. And, when people say, oh, where are you from? Or where I'd say Bay Area, and your parents. And then every once in a while it's like, it's interesting though, but my parents aren't, I'm adopted, and, so I'm not biologically related to them. And I think during this whole college learning about myself and everything, I said, I think I want to find out where I came from. And as I told my mom and dad, I said, I want to let them know that I'm alive, and thanks for delivering me. Thanks for me being here. And my mom said, I don't know if it's going to be that easy. It's not going to be just that simple, but we encourage you to do all of this. So that's how it kind of started out. And it was a 6-month process of me searching, and I got lucky and I found.
And it was that simple, right?
I mean, we were taking some shots in the dark. We had a den mother named Leela Hicks. She was up in Chico, California, where I went to college. And she was my Wednesday night meeting with about 15 other people. And Leela headed up the ALMA, Adoptees Liberty Movement Association group up there. And she said, hey, why don't you start writing? You can look into marriages around that time. I did a few of those, but then she said, but you know what, just write to San Francisco Children's Hospital, see if they can give you records, and we'll take it from there. And I wrote, and I got back. I knew my birth mother's middle name was Lynn. So I wrote, the first time we said, hi, I was born there. Can I get my records? I wrote it from my perspective. And they sent back my birth records with X-Acto knifed out, redacted. I could see through the paper, all my info, but nothing identifying. And then, but they left on the very top back page, it said Taylor baby. That I think when you do those cleavers that cut like 10 pages at the same time, I think the last page might have slipped out, and I saw more of what I should have. So it said Taylor baby. So my girlfriend in college, we wrote back 3 weeks later in her handwriting, I am Ms. Lynn Taylor. I gave birth there on this certain date. Can I have my records? We got in 2 weeks the exact same 9 pages with everything there. And I was like, oh my God, look what we got. Look what we got. And I sat for like 2 or 3 days talking to my friends, my roommates, like, oh my gosh. And then I kind of worked up the courage. About 3 days later, I gave her a call. before I called her, I went to Radio Shack and got those like little suction cup things you put on the back of the phone. And I ran it to a TDK 90-minute recording tape, pressed record, called her, and I recorded up my whole conversation with her. Don't know why I was thinking that foresight back in 1991, but that's what I did.
And how was it?
It was great. I mean, I listen to it again sometimes now just to hear like how it all went down. And I was also trained how to call her. This is before cell phones. So I called and said, "Hi, I'm calling long distance. Can you take my number down in case we get disconnected?" And she said, "Sure. Okay. Who is this?" I said, "I got some great and wonderful news. Just here's my number." I gave her my number. So now, just in case what I say next, my phone number is on the notepad next to the coffee pot. So then I say, "On the day of November 30th, 1968, you and I shared my birth."
Wow. What a way to say it.
Yeah. And she was just silent for about 8 seconds, which seemed like 158 seconds. And then said, "Can you excuse me for a second?" She left. She came back. I could hear her, blowing her nose, and, she was getting emotional. And then we talked I went through the 90-minute TDK tape, and I'm sure there's another 20 minutes of conversation that never got recorded. But anyways, that was, we spoke for quite a bit. Yeah.
And how did that conversation go? How did you feel on that conversation?
It's surreal. I'm like, wow, I'm talking to the person that gave birth to me and telling them what my life's been like. And so we did all that. We exchanged addresses. She sent me photos of herself. I sent photos of myself. And then we, started saying, "Hey, well, at some point we should get together and I'll fly up there or whatever to Portland, Oregon, where she was at." But she did say, "Before anything, give me a few days. I'm going to let my kids know you exist. I'm going to let my cousins know, aunts and uncles. And then let's start working on a plan, getting you up to Portland." So that was how that went down. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Then I flew up to Portland, and this is before 9/11. You could just get off the airplane and the person's right there at the gate. And she was wearing a red blazer, she said, a red jacket. And I saw her in the red jacket, and we talked, hugged. It's again, surreal moment. And we then discussed who I was going to be seeing at home. And I met some family members and spent the weekend up in Portland. Yeah, it was quite amazing.
She had never told her kids.
Never told her kids. Her husband knew about me, her mom and dad, and her brother, who also happened to be adopted, but nobody else knew. She went to go paint for a semester in the summer of 68. And that was kind of what was told to her friends and professors. And she came back, finished up her last semester of college, graduated at December.
Wow. So how was it meeting her husband and then the kids?
He was great. He unfortunately passed away. He got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or something. But he was fantastic and was really helpful in helping navigate the reunion, which sometimes can come on a little. I felt it came on a little, like when I met my birth mother. She said, "Okay, so maybe we can do blended Christmases and let's do all of our Easters and we'll do Thanksgivings." I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm ready for all that. I do love Easter with my parents and Christmas with my, so it was a little, for my case, and it's individual for everybody, I'm sure, but it was a little overwhelming in the beginning. So,
and so when you say he helped navigate, what did he do?
I think he said, he would say, now I'm not going to say her name, but he would, mention, say, "Hey, well, Jeff is dealing with some things that he he has questions, and can you see how maybe your behavior might be a little bit too pushy or a little too overbearing? Jeff does have a family. He does have, family he goes to for holidays. Maybe there's another way to approach this, and so he was a good sounding block because I think she wanted to just gobble up everything, gobble up 22 years worth of not seeing me uh, immediately in one meal. I felt like I was like, oh, we got to slow down. Let's, a reunion still needs to be a friendship / relationship. Same if Nathan and I start a friendship, or Donna, you and I, like, there needs to be an understanding that we both want to be here. It's not, oh, well, I assume that you're going to be coming over to my house every day for this, or, you have to treat it like any other relationship. So there's some highs and lows through that navigation, but the more you're open and talking, the better we can do navigating this whole thing.
I love that. One of the things that we've come to understand in adoption is how vulnerable everybody is in it. The birth parents are vulnerable. The adoptees are vulnerable because there's so much emotion that can go awry. And so I love that term, navigate. And I love how you're saying you got to approach it because there's already so much emotion. To calm that emotion down and be able to build the foundation of a relationship takes a minute.
Yeah. I think the less you assume from kind of everybody's angle, the more a birth mother can assume that the relationship's going to have to be taken in stride and that nobody guarantees you anything, the more you can understand that, that's going to be easier on the relationship. I think adoptive parents have to know that, yes, your son or daughter may feel that they want to have a relationship with their biological roots, and you need to allow for that. I think as long as people understand there's a lot to this adoption triad / mosaic, almost. There's more to it. There's fostering, there's other elements in it. So as long as we understand there's a common thread that we all wanted to be here as a family, and these were things that we went at with good intention, but we need to respect everybody's boundaries, I think is a better reunion process.
Yeah. So did your parents, they were alive then when you found her and
Yes.
talked? How did they respond? Did you call them up and say, hey, mom and dad, I found my birth mom?
Yeah, I called them up, and I don't know if I totally remember the conversation, because I'm sure I was thinking the whole time, like, oh my gosh, I just don't want them to think I don't love them, or that it's kind of like talking about a new girlfriend with an old girlfriend. Like, or I don't know. It's like, it's not a girlfriend, but it's like
there's loyalties.
There's this loyalty. So yes. But no, I told them, and they were very encouraging, and they met with my birth mother. And they also saw, she came to my wedding when I got married in New York back in 2003. So there's been a couple times they've seen her. I don't know if my mom and my birth mother are a total fit. I don't, I don't know if I necessarily need them to connect again, but it's, there's been a few times we've all been there. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Birth father,
my birth mother knew where he was at, or at least she was kind of friends with his mother. So he was still in Arizona, and I did reach out to him maybe a couple months after I spoke to my birth mother, and that one was a little different. He thought he asked me if I was looking for money. I said no. He asked, just kind of an odd person. So I wasn't totally connecting with him when I spoke to him back in 91. But in 94, I used to be in front of the camera as a model, and I was in New York for like 14 years doing that before I got into the photography. I was in Arizona, and we met and we went out to dinner and we talked and hung out. He's not really my cup of tea, but I did come from him, but there's not a lot there. I've spoken to him a couple other times. He's an odd bird. So mostly I keep in touch with my birth mother. And that being said, for all people involved, birth mother, birth father, I have parents that's who I go to for my advice and support for things and new endeavors. I call my mom. That's who I call. I keep in touch with my birth mother, but that's not where I go so much for advice. I go to my parents. Yeah.
It's not an uncommon thing for birth fathers to be afraid someone's going to be coming after them for child support or something like that. Like, unfortunately, that happens all the time. Do you have any advice for adoptees approaching birth fathers to help avoid that situation?
Oh, I don't know if I have, because I think that kind of came from him. I guess I could have called him before he said anything. I could have said, I'm not looking for money. I'm only here to share that I'm alive. And if you ever wanted to connect, I'd be open to doing that. I'd want to know on his side, I'd want to know if my biological son reached out to me, I would go meet him. I think just letting someone know your intention and where you're coming from is probably the best way to do it. That being said, there are people that create narratives in their head and they might have other ideas. And so
he knew you existed.
He knew I existed. Yeah. But, his biological, he got married 4 years after I was born. They had a child. When my half sister was 3 years old, they divorced. She saw him on weekends, and but something happened when she was like 12 or 13. He was just kind of verbally not so nice to her, so she hasn't talked to him since then. So she actually asked me how my birth father's, like, how he's doing, because she hasn't talked to him since 13. So he doesn't even have great relationships with his own biological in the house children that he had. He's an odd guy. So that's how that goes. But
I want to go back to one thing that you mentioned. You mentioned that your biological mom said to her friends and everybody she was going to go and paint. And
yes,
you are a photographer. So seems like some creativity in those genetics.
maybe, but I don't know how much painting she was actually doing. But I do think she has some creativity in there. But yeah, I don't know if it was a lot of painting. I think she was mostly hiding out and
Having you.
having me. Exactly. Yeah.
No, that's interesting. So birth moms, the story you tell is not an uncommon story, where the birth mom feels this longing and this desire to, you kind of called it, gobble you up. So
Yeah.
to gobble you up, and it's like they're trying to, and you're going, whoa, back up. There are some adoptees that want to kind of be gobbled up. You did not.
No, I have photographed over 100 adoptees and shared their stories. There are adoptees that did not have a very good adoptive experience, and when they meet their biological parents, I know some that kind of have just run straight in the door, and they've kind of switched alliances, so to speak. I don't, what I like to do is not judge anybody for what they're doing. There's got to be reasons for what they're doing there. Or I just want to, this project I do, I just want to share the stories and share their truth. That's what they needed to do. But yes, there are people that do that. That was not me, though, at all.
So tell us about this project.
So I've been photographing. I was about 10 years ago photographing Ray Liotta from Goodfellas. Came over to the home studio and I photographed him for a 3-hour shoot. He went to use the restroom and then he came out and said, "What's up with the black rocks in your sink?" I said, "Oh, black rocks. My birth mother says it brings good energy to the house." He says, "You just said the magic word. You're adopted. So am I." And I was like, "Wow,
Oh, that's cool.
Ray." And so Ray and I, we were shooting, talking. "So what happened when you found you?" Well, and he's like, "A funny thing is, I'm in every Italian movie. I'm the Goodfellas guy. I'm not even Italian. I'm Irish." It's like, whoa, we're just like, and then we got in the car. We drove around LA. I had some alleys that we were shooting in, talking more. And then for honestly 6-7 years, it was just a story I shared at dinner parties. And people were like, "Wow, I can't believe Ray Liotta. That's amazing." And then a light bulb went off, like, maybe there's more of these stories and everybody's so fascinated with them. Well, let's share those. So then that's where the Innocent People Project was born, where I started photographing. And I know people have had tougher adoption experiences. Some have had even, have had really great adoption experiences. And I want to encourage everybody to share. The more you share, the more we understand that we're not the only ones that have gone through this. And it's okay to ask questions. And it's okay to want to know how you got here. And you don't need to feel guilty. Sometimes a lot of adoptees have this guilt that I can't believe I'm trying to look for my biological roots. It's like, it's okay. We're human. So this project is sharing everybody's story. Everybody's story is valid. But yet everything has a common thread in there. So it's just been really great helping me understand my adoption and letting other people read about these stories, helping others. I get DMs all the time. "Thank you for doing this. I feel less alone. I understand things more." So creating a community that we can all sit and enjoy and share. So that's kind of the purpose of it.
So why do you call it Innocent People Project?
Because, yeah, good question. I feel that we came at it with really innocent intentions. My parents were not able to conceive, so they said, "How can we do this?" "Oh, well, this is a viable way of doing this. Let's adopt a child." I, as much as maybe in the beginning, I was maybe not sure about my birth mother and her. How it all went down. But once she told me her story, I understand she was innocent. I'm not going to blame her. She was feeling parental pressure. Society at the time was not the most conducive to single motherhood. And so I don't hold anything against her. She's innocent. I'm innocent. I got here out of, so in a way, I'm trying to keep everybody on the lighter side of things, that we all got here trying to do our best. Not always did we do our best, but we were trying to. So the Innocent People Project was born out of that. I actually have a friend who's another adoptee, and she's a singer-songwriter, and she has a song, and she had a line in there that says "Innocent People." And I said, "Hey, do you mind if I after I thought about it and started this project, I said, I think I'm going to call it the Innocent People Project. And let's share, let's create community. Family is what you make it. It's not, family's thicker than blood. Like, let's get people together here. So that's kind of how it came about. And it's been amazing.
I agree. That's amazing, because sometimes in the world of adoption, lines can be drawn, and people can be blamed, and anger can prevail, and you're bringing in a whole different no. If you look at everybody in this whole story, they're innocent.
Yeah. So that's kind of where that all came about, and everybody's got a different story. And I just love this community that I have found that is growing as we speak, and it's a wonderful, wonderful experience. And it's kind of, in a weird way, being adopted has become my superpower. It's something that I can share, and I think it also allowed me to become more vulnerable and open to my feelings, and those things carry power. And a lot of times, people born to biological parents might not have looked at those things. So there's something that adoptees carry, this extra little tool on our toolkit that a lot of biologically raised children don't have. And
Can you describe it a little more?
I think I've got, I think comes with it an empathy, an understanding of some, who these people are. I am not judgmental, and I really have an idea of, I understand how people are feeling, and I'm tolerant. I'm not one that's going to force you into a certain way of being. I've learned that there's so many ways of being. We're all here on Earth. Okay, well, you could, this has come up before, like, other adoptees said, well, my biological parents didn't even want me, so how can I go forward? Well, something even more important, your biological parents wanted you here. It's called the universe, and the universe is above parenting. The universe needed you here, and they need you to share your story. And even if it was maybe a rough adoption, people need to know it so they know that they can learn from it, what to do and not to do for future adoptive parents out there. Hearing these stories help other adoptees that might have had a similar situation feel less alone and find community and identity. So there's a lot to it. This little, I don't even know what I would call the tool. Maybe it's just like the compassion tool, the empathy tool. I'm not sure, but it's right here on my hip. I got it whenever I need it.
No, that's wonderful. Nathan, your thoughts?
Jeff, if I had to put my finger on your secret sauce and why your adoption has been as positive as it has been. I mean, even the most negative things that you talk about, or you were like wanted so much from your birth mom, right? And you had to manage these relationships and such. I think you've really approached this adoption situation with a lot of love. You exude that. Your story seems to be filled with that. Can you give anybody advice for someone that's maybe having a harder time? How can we have more love in our adoption journeys like you?
I think my best advice would be really other adoptees a lot of times are kind of so bitter from their chapter one, the beginning of the book. It's hard to come at something with love. So again, adoptees don't want to be told that you need to be grateful, but I am so grateful I'm here. I'm appreciative of the parents that I got. I know that I was here. I'm here for a purpose. I'm here, whether it's just a purpose of raising my two daughters in a great way, or whether it's just to do my simple, whatever thing I do in life. I believe there's something wanted me here. And so knowing that I'm wanted, I then approach everything that I'm valid. I'm supposed to be here. Now let's talk. I think if you come at it feeling like I'm not even supposed to be here, my parents didn't want me, and you live in that, I don't know how healthy you're going to approach a new relationship, whether it's reunion, because you're going to then be saying to yourself, you didn't want me. I'm really pissed.
That's right.
You're not going to approach that relationship the right way. I don't know why I I think my parents, I think my father was just such a humble, loving, wonderful human. He was thinking about his carbon footprint before it was even PC. I just, I want to go forth in love. I even have I have a tattoo, bold as love. I want to go
Oh, that's cool.
with love, right? That's how I want to. I want everything to be approached with love. I think this country, especially right now, needs a lot more love. There's too much divisiveness. Let's try to look at it come at it with some positivity. So I don't know if I do think, though, yes, the adoptee, when they go out looking or dealing with their adoption or looking for a reunion, it will go better in the reunion, and it'll go better even if you don't look in reunion and just in life. If you understand that there is something here, take your biological parents, put them to the side. The universe wanted you here. The universe wanted you here. So we are here. How do we make it the best time while we're here? And the more people that you can surround yourself with that love you, let's allow that. So I think sometimes just approaching it in a healthy way allows for a flourishing adoption experience, reunion, whatever you're looking into.
Yeah, I love that.
This has been such a joy, Jeff. It's just really been a joy to visit
Thank
with
you.
you. I'm thrilled that with the project that you're doing, and
Thank you.
look forward to seeing more of what you do.
Yeah. Now, if anybody wants to go, you can always go to, Jeff Forney. It's just JEFFFORNEY, at the Instagram, and you can read so many stories. And honestly, I get people all the time saying, I can't believe you just posted this one. This is exactly what I've been dealing with. And I'm loving that you're doing this project. You can get a lot of stories out. You can, see a lot of people sharing themselves, opening up. It's really neat.
No, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you for being with us. I'll send you an email and ask you for more pictures as well as your Instagram links.
Yeah.
And we'll post them on voicesofadoption.org. And we look forward to our next episode.
Hey, the next visit, we'll check in and see what's going on, next year.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
See
Thanks,
ya.
Thanks for the great work you're doing.
Thanks. All right.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Voices of Adoption. I'm Donna Pope.
And I'm Nathan Gwilliam. Every voice in the adoption triad deserves to be heard and understood.
Visit voicesofadoption.org to subscribe and access additional resources. And then join us next time as we continue to build bridges through conversation.